Hello YouTubers, welcome to G-Tech and welcome to Montana. I'm on vacation and having a good time up here. This is the first in a series of the upgrading of my Phase Linear 700 Series 2 amplifier. In this episode, we're going to build the White Oak Audio control board, and we're going to build it in fully complementary style. But first, if you like these episodes, hit the like, comment, and subscribe button. Well, let's get started. I recently picked up a Velleman VTHH6 printed circuit board holder on eBay for around 20 bucks. And let me tell you, it's worth every penny. It securely holds your PCB during assembly and soldering, and it's fully adjustable, even rotating a full 360 degrees. A real game changer for do-it-yourself electronics work. I also ordered a control board from White Oak Audio. The model number is PL14-20 Revision G1. You can buy it fully assembled or opt for the kit version and build it yourself. Personally, I prefer the kit. Not only is it fun to build, but it saves a little cash and gives you the satisfaction of assembling it with your own hands. The kit comes with a bare PC board and parts that are labeled in small plastic bags. You may be old enough to remember the paint-by-number kits you could get back in the day. You would paint a numbered section with a certain color of paint, and when finished you would end up with a picture you painted yourself. This is exactly like that. Here we see 2 bags of parts. Each bag has a specific part number, as in the case of the diode bag, or value as in the case of the bag of resistors on the right. Each are labeled with a number to match the place on the board where they go. Here we see there are 6 10-ohm resistors numbered R7, 8, and 36. Notice after the part number there is either an R or an L designation. This board has 2 separate channels for stereo, so the L and the R designate left and right. On the printed circuit board, you will find those part numbers printed where each part goes respectively. What really makes the assembly easy is the fact that White Oak Audio forms the leads on their parts. In other words, the leads are already preformed to fit where they are to be installed. No guesswork on doing it yourself. According to the instructions, we start with the diodes. Diodes are directional. Installing them backward will prevent them from working correctly. Each has a black band to indicate the polarity, and the PCB has a matching white stripe printed next to each diode location. Just match the band to the stripe and you're good to go. Here's a view with all the diodes in place. Now's a good time to double check the orientation before soldering. With everything in position, I solder them in place. Now, let's trim the leads. We are now instructed per the instruction manual to install all the 1/4 watt resistors. They can be placed in any position. However, I prefer to place them all one way. For instance, I like to place them in the direction of the lettering of the print on the board. For example, the resistor I am placing here is a 1K ohm 1/4 watt 1% tolerance. The color code is brown, black, black, brown, brown. I place those bands in that order from left to right according to the part number that is left to right on the board. This gives the appearance of a clean, quality build. With everything in position, I solder them in place. Since flipping the board would cause the resistors to fall out, I tack solder 1 lead on each to hold them in place. Now that they're secure, I'll flip the board and solder the remaining leads. Once soldered, I trim the leads using a flush cut tool for a neat finish. Okay, so now let's install the two 8-pin IC sockets. Once placed, they're soldered into position. Moving on to the higher wattage resistors, I follow the same tack-solder method to keep them stable before flipping the board. Now we install the polypropylene capacitors, starting with the smallest and working up to the larger ones. These are non-polarized, so orientation doesn't matter electrically. Still, I align the printed text to the same direction as the part number on the board for visual consistency. Next up are the TO92 transistors and regulators. As with diodes, these are directional, so pay attention to alignment. Now, we drop in the mica capacitors, same logic as the polypropylene caps. Orientation doesn't matter, but consistent labeling makes it look sharp. Time to install the bias trimmers. They're keyed, so they only fit one way. Next, we install the TO200 transistors and heat sinks. Now for the electrolytics, starting with the smaller ones, then the larger values. These are polarized, so match the negative stripe on the cap with a negative marking on the PCB. Once leads are trimmed, I go over each joint again to reflow the solder and ensure solid connections. Next, we install the test points. These are a fantastic addition, making taking measurements a breeze. Now we install the 13-pin Phoenix connectors, soldering them to the top side of the board. Make sure the terminal screws face away from the board. And here's the final step, installing the Phoenix 3-pin bias transistor connectors on the bottom side of the board. Again, ensure the screw terminals are facing toward the 13-pin Phoenix connectors. Now, we clean up. Using a toothbrush and 90% isopropyl alcohol, I gently scrub the board to remove any flux residue. This gives it a crisp, professional finish. And there it is, your fully assembled PL14-20 Revision G control board. Before powering up, double-check your diode, capacitor, and transistor orientations and inspect every solder joint. Look out for cold joints or solder bridges. Well, that's it for the White Oak Audio control board build. I look forward to installing it in my Phase Linear 700 Series 2. Again, if you like these episodes, hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you on the next episode. It's a wrap!